We're going to be watching video taken at Richard D. Wilde's Harmony Valley Farm in Viroqua, Wisconsin. Richard's been using a rotavator for the killing objective, killing green manure crops for some years now. This is a new machine he acquired in 2010. It's a 12-foot rotavator powered by a 95 horsepower tractor. This is some modest green manure growth, and what we're doing is we're running with that rear shield all the way up to get as much of the root mat up on the surface as possible, so that dehydration can take place, so that sun, wind can dry out those roots, and with the right amount of time and Mother Nature's cooperation, we're able to kill everything that's green and growing before he starts to shape his beds. A little bit later, we'll see some fields where the beds have already been shaped, and unfortunately, they were shaped too early, and in the process of compressing the soil around green vegetation, that green vegetation survived. It's literally like transplanting vegetables, and that's what you see here. These beds were shaped much earlier than the intended planting date, and because they were shaped, the vegetation that was green and growing was pressed back into firm, moist soil and literally transplanted. What you see here is our effort to knock the beds apart and get the root mat up on the surface to do a better job of killing it. We've got close to a month before these beds will be planted. We're seizing the opportunity to come back and do a better job of killing. To come back in and reshape these beds would not fulfill the killing objective the way we will by knocking them apart with a raised rear shield. After the sun and wind has hit this vegetation for a period of time, he'll probably rotivate it again, and hopefully with 2 more rotavations, enough of the root mass will have been exposed to sun, wind, and time that everything will hopefully be dead. This is a D series Falk rotary tiller. The D is rated for maximum 100 horsepower, and it's set up with a bed shaper. By the way, Richard D. Wilde uses a toolbar mounted furrow maker with row markers on it to actually create the furrow in a rough bed. This machine then comes along separately and better shapes the bed, makes a very nice level, flat, firm surface with a good firm sidewall. What we're not able to show you is a video of the furrow maker, although we do have some photos of it that we'll be showing you shortly. But these are beautifully made beds. We're now in a slide presentation mode where we just take you to different areas of Richard's farm. This is a greenhouse with transplants going out to the field. This just shows one of Richard's transplanters planting through plastic wrapped raised bed. There's his one of his plastic layers with irrigation tubing. This is the transplanter that punches holes in the plastic. Notice the plastic is silver and black. The silver is to repel certain bugs. The black is for absorbing heat, and it's well documented how well the reflective surface repels certain predators. This is a mid-mount cultivator working in a raised bed. Richard has belly mount as well as rear mount. This is another rotavator that Richard has, which he uses for open field killing, open field tilling. This is a yeoman plow, a vibrating yeoman plow, which Richard will use in dry compacted soil in the fall. This is another cultivator for working the tops of beds as well as cleaning up the furrows. That's the back of the yeoman vibrating plow. Once again, a rigid shank deep tillage tool. This is a field cultivator with a roller that he might use to just freshen the seed bed. This is a Buffalo product which chops residue. I don't know exactly under what circumstances he might use that. This is the back of the Falk bed shaper, just showing the ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene that's used to shape the bed, as well as the structural steel that supports the ultra-high molecular weight poly. This shows the gear side drive on the Falk D-Series rotary tiller. These are some raised beds that have been seeded. You'll see the rows are forming from the vegetation just coming through. Again, this is one of the many planters, seeders that Richard has. I can't comment on all the equipment Richard has because Richard wasn't there to explain exactly why and when he uses different things. But as long as I was there, I thought I would take these photographs to show the array, the arsenal of equipment Richard has to get the job done. This is hand weeding. This is a consequence of not having everything dead in a raised bed before your seed hits the soil. This shows the 12-foot rotavator out killing green manure crops. Again, notice the amount of root mass we have on the surface, and that's what we obtain with the rear shield all the way up. It's playtime now. It's the noon hour. Everyone's been fed, and it's time for a little bit of basketball before they go back. Everyone goes back to the fields. This is pasture renovating. This is an area of the farm where they raise some beef. Again, this is some ground that have been harvested. This was a baby mix. This again is that ground that was that's going to be seeded almost a month from now, and we're knocking the beds apart to go back and try and do a better job of killing things. Same thing here. Notice the amount of root wads on or near the surface. That's what we want. This is a 20-foot Howard rotavator with a bed shaper mounted to it. Notice the duals in the furrows. This is another 15-foot bed shaper with mounted row markers and a Gandy seed box on the back of it. We're now in some high ground above the vegetable ground, renovating pasture. Richard raises grass-fed beef for his customers and his own consumption. And this pasture is predominantly fescue, and Richard felt it was time to kill out the existing vegetation and establish something more palatable and more nutritious for the animals. So what you see here is, again, these are root wads. They're not hard chunks. They're just pieces of ground held together with root structure that by getting the roots on the surface we can then kill with sun and time. These are some wonderfully healthy Angus that are waiting to get on the new pasture. This is some more vegetable ground that's fenced off to keep the livestock out of this area. But again, notice the raised beds everywhere. Richard's been growing vegetables for, I think over 20 years, and he has said on numerous occasions that if he could wave a magic wand and go back in time to day one, everything would be on a raised bed. He feels that historically his income has been much more affected by excessive moisture at the wrong time rather than lack of moisture. Again, in the distance, what we see is the 12-foot rotavator on the 95 horsepower tractor renovating this pasture ground. You can see the white fence tape, electrical tape, defining one pasture from another. He'll do one pasture, get it reseeded, and after the seed is firmly established, then possibly come down and reseed or kill and reseed the other contour strip. Please, any questions, call Guy Machinery at 815-338-0600. Thank you.